A pleasant day to everyone. Today we will be discussing total economic value or TEV and an overview of valuation methods used in environment and natural source management. This topic is important because many environmental benefits are not traded in markets, yet they strongly affect human well-being and sustainability. Let me begin with a simple question. What do we want to achieve the most in our personal life or in our career? Every day, we make choices. These choices involve trade-offs, and whether we realize or not, they reflect what we value. Environmental valuation is essentially about making these values visible, especially when decisions affect ecosystems and society. According to Segerson 2017, making choices involves evaluating alternatives so that a selection can be made. These choices may be individual, such as how we consume resources, or collective, such as government policies. Importantly, people's choices reveal information about their preferences, and economists use this idea to infer value even for environmental goods. This brings us to Adam Smith's concept of the invisible hand. The idea is that when individuals pursue their self-interest in free markets, society as a whole benefits, even if that outcome was not intended. This concept is often used to justify free markets as efficient systems for allocating resources. You can think of Adam Smith's invisible hand this way. Imagine the rice farmers. Each farmer plants rice, not because they want to feed the entire community, but because they want to earn income for their family. At the same time, buyers go to the market not to support farmers, but because they want affordable food. Through this interaction, farmers producing rice and consumers buying it, the market supplies food to society. Even though no one intended to solve food security, the result is a socially beneficial outcome. This is what Adam Smith called the invisible hand. Individual self-interest leading to collective benefit. Now, this logic works only if markets function properly and prices reflects real cost and benefits. The problem is when it comes to the environment, this assumption often breaks down. Let me give an example. A logging company may cut trees to maximize profit. The market rewards them for timber sales, but the loss of biodiversity, flooding, and carbon emissions are not priced. So unlike rice, the invisible hand fails to protect the forest. The invisible hand assumes that market exists for all goods and services. In reality, many environmental goods and services do not have markets. Clean air, biodiversity, and climate regulations, these are essential, yet often unpriced. Goods and services are categorized into two. They are tangible and intangible goods and services. Tangible goods and services are those that are physical, visible, and measurable. They are often directly harvested, consumed, or traded in markets. Tangible values are usually easier to price because they are seen, counted, weighed, or sold. These are timber, non-timber forest products, freshwater, fuel wood, charcoal, and many tangible goods. Intangible goods and services, on the other hand, are non-physical benefits. They are real and valuable, but not directly touched or traded in markets. This includes climate regulation, which forests absorb carbon dioxide and regulate temperature. Another one, flood control and erosion prevention. Tree roots stabilize soil and reduce flood risk. Biodiversity conservation is another example, where forests provide habitat for endemic and endangered species. Also, cultural and spiritual values. The sacred forest, ancestral domains, and indigenous cultural identity. And aesthetic and recreational value, where scenic landscapes, ecotourism, mental well-being, and relaxation can be felt. When market failure or markets fail to deliver socially optimal outcomes, prices do not reflect the true value of environmental goods and services. This can happen due to public goods, externalities, information asymmetry, ill-defined market rights, and difficulties in monitoring environmental resources. As a result, environmental degradation often occurs despite economic growth. Market failure occurs when profits are private, but environmental damages are public. When market fails, prices send misleading signals. They may underestimate scarcity, provide weak incentives for conservation, and encourage overuse of natural resources. This is why environmental problems persist even when markets appear to be functionally normally. Valuation is the process of measuring the value that individuals assign to goods or changes using a given scale, often monetary. It involves identifying what change is being valued and estimating its value. While economists emphasize preferences and income, other disciplines remind us that perceptions, culture, and social contexts also shape values. Let us have an example on market-based valuation. One, timber valuation. What is valued? Timber harvested from a production forest. Another question, how it is being valued? Market price per cubic meter of lumber, less harvesting, transport, and processing cost. Why this is valuation? Because timber is traded in markets, so price directly reflects its economic value. Another example, water supply for irrigation. What is valued here? The valued here is the water from a forest watershed or a watershed used by farmers. How it is valued? Irrigation fees paid by farmers. The cost of alternative water sources if the watershed degrades. Why this is valuation? The service is linked to actual payments or avoided cost. The non-market valuation focuses on environmental goods that are not bought or sold. It measures how much people are about environmental changes and the trade-offs they are willing to make. Importantly, these values are always relative to changes from one environmental condition to another. Examples of non-market valuation. This involve environmental goods and services with no direct market price, requiring indirect or survey-based methods. For the non-market valuation, we have the flood control by forest. What is valued here? Flood regulation provided by an upland forest. How it is valued? Avoided damage cost, estimated cost of floods avoided it, damaged houses, crops, roads. Why this is non-market valuation? Flood protection is not bought or sold, yet it has economic value. Another example is the existence value of a forest species, like a wildlife species. What is valued here? It is the existence of an endangered species like Philippine eagle. How it is valued? Contingent valuation method. It's the people's willingness to pay to ensure the species to exist, like the Philippine eagle that I said earlier. Why this is non-market valuation? Because people value the species even if they never see or use it. Take note of this. Valuation uses market price when they exist, while non-market valuation is used when environmental values exist without markets. The importance of ecosystem services valuation. Ecosystem services valuation helps reduce market value. Ecosystem services valuation helps address market failure by recognizing non-market values. It supports better decision-making, cost-benefit analysis, internalization of externalities, sustainable resources allocation, and stronger environmental policies. It also helps engage stakeholders in informed discussions. Ecosystem services are the benefits people obtain from ecosystem. This includes food, water, climate regulation, and even scenic beauty. For ecosystem services to matter socially, there must be some form of interaction with or appreciation by people. There are four major types of ecosystem services. One is provisioning services, such as food and timber, products obtained from ecosystems. Another one is regulating services, benefits obtained from the regulation of ecosystem processes, which includes flood control and climate regulation. Third is the cultural services, non-material benefits people obtain from ecosystem through spiritual enrichment, cognitive development, reflection, recreation, and aesthetic experiences. This includes recreation and spiritual value. And the last one is the supporting services, which underpin all other services like nutrient cycle. And it is necessary for the production of all other ecosystem services. Class this classification helps us understand how ecosystems support human life and well-being in different ways. The total economic value provides a comprehensive way of capturing the value of environmental assets. It includes both use values and non-use values. This framework helps ensure that we do not overlook important benefits simply because they are not traded in markets. The total economic value can be divided into two: One is the use values, which are related to those actual or potential use. And second, the non-use values, which reflect values unrelated to direct use. This framework allows policymakers and planners to see the full picture of what ecosystem contribute to society. In simple terms, total economic value equals use value plus non-use value. This equation reminds us that environmental value goes far beyond that we directly extract or consume. Use values arise from the actual use of a resource. Example, fishing in wetlands, harvesting timber, or collecting non-timber products. These are the most visible and common recognized values. Use values includes direct use values such as harvesting resources and indirect use values such as flood protection from forests. And another one is the option values, which reflect willingness to pay to preserve resources for possible future use. Non-values exist even without direct interaction. These include altruism value, which pertains to caring about others' success. Bequest value, the caring about future generations. And existence value, valuing nature simply because it exists. To summarize, TEV equals the sum of direct, indirect, and option use values plus altruism, bequest, and existence values. Consider a watershed that supplies water, supports livelihood, and is conserved for present and future generation. Given this information for the use value, the direct use value has an estimated cost of 1,200,000. Indirect use value has an estimated of 2 million, while the option value has 800,000. So given our formula, you can now solve the use value, which is being valued at 4 million. For the non-use values, assume that we have also these values for altruism value with an estimated cost of 600,000, bequest value 900,000, existence value 500,000. Now, when you have to compute for the total economic value, you will result to have a 6 million per year. When we value ecosystem services, there is no single best method actually. However, the appropriate valuation method depends on what is being valued, why it is being valued, and the data and resources available. But here is the possible strategy. Identify the type of ecosystem services. How to choose? First, determine whether the services is provisioning, regulating, cultural, or supporting. Method implication as to provisioning services, determine the market price methods. As to regulating services, determine the avoided cost and the replacement cost. While cultural services, you have to consider the travel cost and the contingent valuation. While for supporting services, often indirect combined with ecological modeling. Another strategy is determine the type of value. How to choose that? Whether the value is use or non-use. Another strategy is clarify the purpose of valuation. How to choose that? You may ask why the valuation is being done, such as policy making for the cost-benefit analysis methods, EIA, damage cost avoided, benefit transfer, compensation, the replacement cost, the restoration cost. Awareness advocacy, you have to state or the stated preference of such. Another strategy is data availability and budget. How to choose that? You have to check whether primary data collection is possible. And you have to consider the limited time and the budget, which is the benefit transfer. Also, the good local data, which revealed preferences. No market data with stated preference surveys. Strategy 5 is to match the method to the scale of analysis. How to choose that? You have to consider the local project, cite specific methods. Also the regional planning, which involves benefit transfer, and the national policy for the aggregated valuation methods. And the last is the avoid double counting. Carefully choose, ensure that supporting services are not counted separately if they are already embedded in provisioning or regulating services. Reminder, count benefits, not processes twice. Economic valuation informs public policy, resource allocation, compensation for environmental losses, and the design of environmental markets. When used carefully, valuation improves transparency and accountability in decision making. With our discussions earlier, let's have practical exercises. Assume a protective mangrove forest is located near a coastal community. The mangrove provides fish and crabs harvested by local fishers, protection from storm surge and coastal erosion, a potential site for future ecotourism, cultural value for the community, assurance that future generations will benefit from the mangrove ecosystem. Using the total economic value framework, determine the following. Identify at least one component of use value or UV found in the mangrove forest. Second, identify at least one component of non-use value found in the mangrove forest. And third, explain briefly why considering both UV and NUV is important in deciding whether the mangrove should be conserved or converted for development. For questions 1 and 2, write down in the comment section, while for number 3, submit it to the BBLMS. Thank you and have a good day, everyone.